We need to take a second to explain why this is showing up here. Unlike everything else we're covering today, Enchanted Arms is not a PS3 exclusive. In fact, up until a couple years ago, I thought this was only on Xbox 360. It released a bit after launch for the 360, and then it took a little less than a year to show up for PlayStation 3. Much like how Sony's system itself had to tail Microsoft. Partially, we are showcasing it because I've always wanted to play this since forever. But really, I think it's important to cover it because it's kind of what the PS3 was in need of. I don't want to sound like a fucking homer, but JRPGs were prime real estate for Sony. After Final Fantasy VII reshaped culture and sold a floppity jillion PS1s, there was a significant want for more of that genre, and not just in Japan. Would it surprise you that Final Fantasy X, X2, 12, Kingdom Hearts 1, Kingdom Hearts 2, and Dragon Quest VIII are all extremely high-selling games worldwide? Shit, in Japan, they are the highest-selling PS2 games. I'm not going to tell you that FFX was the killer app that moved systems, but it was on the single greatest holiday lineup image in history. Make sure to check in with your local 30 or 40-year-old. They just felt happiness for the first time in ages looking upon this image again. One of the biggest issues, as you've seen thus far, is that the early PS3 lacked any recognizable Sony properties. Unlike the PS2 and kind of the PS1 and actually the SNES now that I think about it, that early platform appetite for a JRPG was not going to be fulfilled by a Final Fantasy game. FF13 was currently in the development nightmare zone. It would take years for it to release. And Dragon Quest, well, honestly, the fact that no mainline Dragon Quest game appeared on the console could explain a lot about this gen by itself. So if you were an early adopter of the PS3 and you had an itch for the JRPG, Enchanted Arms was the best thing you were getting. Actually, not even the best thing. It was the only thing you were getting. It would take another year for Eternal Sonata to show up, and that, like Enchanted Arms, is one of many examples where the PS3 is getting the Xbox 360's hand-me-downs.
Post-production Jay here. I do want to throw in that the PS3 would see Valkyria Chronicles and Disgaea 3 in 2008. Those help out a little bit, but I don't bring it up in the body of the video because it doesn't inherently imply that like people who want to turn-based JRPG are going to cross-pollinate with the demand for a strategy or tactics RPG, but the other side of that is, hey bud, that's all you were fucking getting for a while. Like, those are your options. I hope you like something out of there.
Final Fantasy XIII wasn't gonna happen worldwide until 2010. There was no help here. So you got Enchanted Arms, and this game is interesting. First off, it's always fun to look at a game by FromSoft that is off-type for them. Something outside their home cooking of first-person exploratory games, mecha battle games, or Soulsborne games. From has never really done a straight-up JRPG before, so it's cute that the generation notorious for running JRPGs off consoles was kickstarted by fucking From, of all people, doing one. Okay, enough preamble. This game sucks. It's not completely without merit, but it's not a good time. The best thing it has going for it is its personality. The starting cast of feeder tube idiot protagonist, Mr. Smart, Sexy, and Literally Perfect, and Biting Queen who fucking wishes he was anywhere else, have amazing chemistry. Although, we do have to talk about Makoto because it's very obvious that he's gay, but too often it feels like he's being played as a joke. The English voice acting feels a little too straight man being asked to play a homosexual, and that's the punching down humor. It sucks because I love that Makoto is a dramatic bitch, but it just comes off way too much like he's a mildly homophobic caricature. Awful representation aside, you will spend hours watching these three chat, and they gel together perfectly. There is a staggering amount of chatting in this game, with maybe half-ish of it being voiced. While this does turn the pacing into a foot race of glaciers, I think all the conversations are the most charming part of Enchanted Arms. The voice acting itself is kind of hit or miss. Atsuma's VA in particular was given some notably poor direction, and likely a script with a couple names misspelled. But walking around the world and shooting the shit with these little VN adjacent sections is where the game has the most amount of heart and charm. Because if I'm being honest, the combat feels entirely tacked on. Enchanted Arms is a traditional turn-based JRPG with a pinch of tactics flair to it. Your party of 4 has to navigate their half of the grid and bop enemies sequestered to the other half. There are no basic attacks. Everything is a resource-expending skill that has a unique offensive attack pattern to it, or some form of defensive support spell, also with a pattern of effect associated with it. This is fine, but one concession kinda kills the battles. Your HP and EP, the resources for skills, fully replenish after each battle. This makes a lot of encounters devolve into just DPSing the battle away. There's no reason to think about healing because time spent healing is time wasted and not finishing the battle, wherein you'll heal back up anyways. The majority of thinking is reserved for boss battles, where you actually might use your full suite of skills to tackle a challenge. All of the random battles feel like time wasters, where the only challenge is the fact that your party placement is randomized on the grid. But there is a secondary health, so to speak. Your VP is a number that goes down after every battle. You are incentivized to turn 1 your encounters as often as possible because the longer a battle takes, the more VP everyone will lose afterwards. Since most battles can be turn 1 if lucky, this doesn't loom too largely. But if your battles are unlucky, or heaven help you, you run from battles, your VP across the party will start to lower. When a character's VP hits rock bottom, they effectively become useless. They start battles with only 1 HP and 1 EP, dooming them to being able to do basically nothing. You need to switch them out to someone else or one of your many bootleg Pokemons. Outside of some consumables, the only way to refill VP is at a little refill station that is placed similarly to how any checkpoint would be in a normal JRPG. This fucking sucks so badly. It reeks of designing answers to problems you created. It's like a knock-on effect where the decision to replenish health after every battle creates a necessity of VP being the real tax that battles bring. Being in a dungeon and getting turned around or exploring too many times or just getting unlucky because the encounter rate is extremely swingy and losing all of your character's VP sucks the fucking stars from the sky. Likely because of that, so much of Enchanted Arms is a hallway simulator, going down extremely linear paths with few diverticula or distractionary points of interest. And I guess that's good, because the way VP is designed means you are putting yourself in trouble if you have an actual dungeon that requires back and forth traversal. Fuck! It's one of many problems that compounds the longer you play the game. The item economy is almost non-existent. The only thing enemies drop are these 3 crafting gems. All consumables or items otherwise need to be bought, and you can only ever hold 9 of them. Not that there are that many to begin with. You only purchase things at Little Store Crystals, a pit stop that does all your purchasing, weapon making, or golem synthesizing. Speaking of, golems feel even more tacked on. Large parts of this game will not give you a full party, meaning you need to round out your team with this ungracefully eclectic mix of enemies you can craft up. But the second you have 4 main characters, this entire system becomes ignorable, outside of small instances or backup characters if you run out of VP. And then all your gems become borderline useless because crafting golems is the primary use for them. Enchanted Arms is like an informative game of what not to do. So many of these mechanics feel entirely boneless and unengaging to play with. The game isn't bad in the Kusoge sense, but bad in the way that it can only ever soar to the mark of competence. Battling isn't fun, exploring isn't fun, item management isn't fun, your golem subsystem isn't fun, 6-axis support isn't fun, leveling isn't fun, the story isn't fun, nothing is fun. Despite not being an actually broken or wretched game, Enchanted Arms quickly breaks you down over time. Everything is a slog to perform. Just walking from place to place feels arduous as you wonder what the game could possibly do to snap you awake. It makes confusing pacing choices, having conversations go on simply too long or tearing away control from the player to tutorialize how to do something simple like climb a ladder or operate a minecart. It did the minecart one nearly 10 hours into the game. I think I fucking understand how to walk up to something and press X when given a prompt, especially when it's the only object in the area that stands out. Like how an animated part of an old Scooby-Doo cartoon is obvious by the fact that they aren't part of the background. And every time a new scenario pops up, you can just feel the molasses enter your veins. Like, oh my god, who fucking cares about this subplot? Can we just get on with it? Also, while being negative, this game looks like shit. I don't know if this is because my PS3 is outputting at 1080 and Enchanted Arms, really most PS3 games, were not able to actually hit that 1080 Sony so badly wanted you to believe is real. But everything in Enchanted Arms looks like it was reconstructed from shattered glass. Sharp edges and jaggies are as far as the eye can see. Sometimes the entire room looks so fuzzy, you would think you are playing the sequel to Final Fantasy VIII. It's possible that this is an issue that stems from being a 360 port, because sometimes this shit is embarrassing. Like, some textures are so fucking blown out that it has to be a porting problem. I can't imagine it was originally this bad. But similar to Genji, there is this emphasis on scale that comes across. In Genji, it wanted you to be impressed with how big the characters were. In Enchanted Arms, I think it wants you to be impressed with how big the locations are. They're not always big in walkable distance, but they exist at such a scale that makes you feel small and them feel gargantuan. It's one of the few times something effective happens in this game. The way the camera is so zoomed out to make you feel like an ant in some of these locations. The eeriness of moving, but almost feeling like you're going nowhere. I want to be done railing on this game, but I have one last critical issue I want to address. When Enchanted Arms starts, it starts beautifully. And something that helps that are the first two songs the game plays. Oh my fucking god. This dreamy sample-based track whisks you away to something more magical than expected. The soft warmth, the cheery, energetic beat, the optimistic backing samples, all of it comes off like a forgotten track from the Avalanche's first album. It's utterly sensational. It takes you out of the magical academy you start in and transforms it into this idyllic paradise. And then you step outside. The outdoor festival is made even more celebratory by this soaring collection of samples melting together to create a beautifully messy confluence of excitement and cheer. In absence of a larger festival space or a greater crowd of NPCs, this song makes the Foundation Festival feel bubbly and alive. These back-to-back hits prime you for an auditory experience that will never come. The rest of this game has nothing like this, nothing even close. The rest of the soundtrack is as soulless and empty and unimpressive as the game itself. Nothing ever rises to these moments. Nothing ever crafts an evocative scene with its inclusion. There are songs that are fine sounding, but no other tracks have this sort of plunder phonics layering and depth to it. You are trudging through this muddy husk of a game, wondering, praying that something like that opening hour will come back to surprise you. And it's never showing up to save the experience. Enchanted Arms might be the worst JRPG I've played. Again, it's not actually bad. If it was bad, there might be some honest charm to it. It's soulless. It's boring. Playing it to completion felt like I was draining my life force during every session. 7th Gen was a time where console JRPGs went to die. They fled to the handhelds because those systems offered a better scale and scope for what they were trying to do. Enchanted Arms is the harbinger of those times, kicking off the console by showing you a particularly awful time for traditional turn-based enthusiasts. I like being able to play games to completion. Very rarely do I actively drop a game for reasons other than forgetfulness or juggling too many at once. But Enchanted Arms tested me. If I wasn't playing it for the show, I very well may have tapped out. What a truly joyless experience it was after that first hour. But before I end, I do want to give it one nicety. This was somebody's something. Because the game isn't actually broken, because you can actually beat it without a guide or looking up help, you can all too easily see that this was something that left a mark on someone when they were 15. When I was in the final moments of this game, I could at least feel the warmth of an experience that would have resonated with a person when they were at their most impressionable. It would not shock me that someone has nostalgia for this. Sure, it sucks wildly, but I wouldn't doubt there are people who feel a way about this game, and I wouldn't take that from them. The game is bad, but it's never so bad you should quit. But it's not good either. It's never good enough to rise above to anything special. It's the ultimate 4 out of 10 video game. I'm glad I played it, because it was a game I was looking forward to as the new gen started to happen. But I'll never need to play it again, nor would I ever recommend anyone else play it. As a friend put it, it was my mid that got away. But I'm at least glad I went back to find it.